Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grandstand Sports Data. The NBA season looks like it's in the books, which means it's time to see if our model made us look like geniuses or clowns. Today, we're going to break down exactly how our 2024-2025 NBA season predictions held up. We're going to go through the good, the bad, and then the downright embarrassing. We're going to show you the teams that padded the bankroll, teams that made you want to delete your sportsbook app, and which handicap and angles actually made money. Plus, we're going to go through the ones that we're going to be throwing away next season. So let's get right into it. All right, so here's how the model stacked up in terms of the Eastern Conference results. You can see the red numbers are going to indicate the teams that overperformed what we actually projected. The blue numbers are going to represent the teams that underperformed our actual projections. And then the white numbers, or the shades that are kind of close to white, are going to be where we almost nailed it. You're going to take a look at some of the couple standouts that we have. Cleveland Cavs, right? They were excellent this season. They outperformed our model by basically 20 games. Same thing goes for the Detroit Pistons. They were up over about 24 points, and really good young team to look forward to going forward for their future. On the other side, though, Philadelphia, they underperformed by about 21 games. They're basically tanking after about game 55, in just our opinion. And you can see they were down 21. Everywhere else was like pretty good shades, as you could see, mostly in the ballpark for us. But that's why predicting the NBA can be a little bit rough. But as you can see down all the way in the Southeast Conference, or excuse me, Southeast Division, we did pretty damn good. We were hovering around 5 wins for each of those teams, except for the Charlotte Hornets, where it was 11 difference. But not too bad in terms of the East. Now let's take a look at the West. Same color codes apply, right? Red teams are going to represent the teams that are overperformed, whereas the blue teams are going to represent the teams that underperformed. And that white will be right in the middle, so it means that we were actually dialed in on those. Here's a couple of the notable teams: the Portland Trailblazers. We projected them to be basically bottom feeders in the NBA. They kind of still were, but somehow got 23 more wins than expected. So that one stung our pocket if you made that bet. Houston Rockets and the Grizzlies also popped 15 and 14 more wins than expected. When we say expected, saying us here at Grandstand Sports Data with just the models predictions in the beginning of the season. On the flip side, though, Dallas Mavericks and the New Orleans Pelicans, they tanked compared to our projections. We were way off on both. I probably could see it with the Dallas Mavericks, and the trade mid-season probably affected that. If not, it did affect that. And New Orleans just downright had a bad season. So overall, we had some big swings, but that's why we don't just build models. We refine them, especially when the market shifts mid-season. So let's see how the results translated to actual betting tickets. Let's talk about the playoff predictions. We went 22-8 in this, if you made every bet on the board, but somehow we still were down $2.85 for every $1 bet. Here's why. When you're laying big chalk on favorites like Boston at minus 10,000, you got Milwaukee at minus 2,400, those wins don't exactly move the needle. But the misses, like Memphis Grizzlies making the playoffs at plus 185, we had them missing and they made it. New Orleans, they missed, and we projected them to get in. So that one was a flip as well. Clippers also snuck in at minus 290, and we had them missing, so that's also another loss for us. And when I say for us, I'm talking about the model. So small mistake, but still stings a little bit, right? Moral of the story here: predicting playoff fields is great, but unless you're finding your true edge, it's tough to grow the bankroll long term. So next, we're going to break down those regular season win totals and how each bet would have played out. All right, so jumping into those win totals, and this is one of the sharpest markets in the NBA, but we still managed to grind it out at $4.32 profit for every $1 bet. Went 18 and 12 for all win totals when you're talking about our model and its prediction in the preseason. Let's take a look at some of the value plays that it would have hit on. Orlando Magic at under 47 and a half, that cashed at plus 105. You get the Phoenix Suns at under 47 and a half as well. That's at plus 110, and that paid off. Then you got the Timberwolves at under 52 and a half. Grab that at plus 100 and hit with the easy money. Don't really want to call it easy money when you're talking about 52 wins in a season. But moving on, San Antonio was another one at under 35 and a half. I think that one was the more notable one because I think everyone had San Antonio having more than 35 and a half wins this season, especially Wemby trying to make that jump. But that was at plus 100. That cashed as well. Now, had some misses too, like the Knicks over 53 and a half, Warriors under 43 and a half. Both of those flopped, right? But overall, The plus money unders carried this one. Bottom line here, though, in a tight market like win totals, the model's given us enough edges to stay profitable, especially when we pick our spots. Now, let's look at the future tickets that turned out for the model. All right, moving on to those division winners now. We went 3-3, and when I say we, I'm talking about the model. Just want to leave that as an asterisk. You can see we went up $2.76 for every $1 bet, which tells you it's not about how many you hit; it's about hitting the ones that pay. Some of our biggest wins, as you can see, Lakers to win the Pacific at plus 450, cash that one. Even the chalk plays like Boston at minus 175 and OKC at minus 145, those things landed safely as well. We did miss the other three, though Milwaukee, Miami, and Dallas. They all tripped up the model, but the positive return says the value spots made up for it. The bottom line here is that the division winners come with risk, but when you hit those plus money plays, it flips the whole category green. Now, let's take a look at the conference and title futures that we had. And moving on to those conference winners, you can see we have a clean sweep in the wrong direction. We went 0-2, down $2 for every $1 bet. Boston Celtics to win the East at plus 155, close but no cigar there. And then you have the Lakers to win the West at a spicy plus 1600. So the model really went out on a limb, going for Lakers Celtics there. And look, these are the kind of futures where you don't expect perfection, but when they hit, they make the season, maybe even the year, right? But it didn't connect. Next season, we'll be swinging for those plus money spots again smartly but aggressively. Now we're going to finish off with that NBA title pick. All right, so moving on to the NBA Finals winner. As you can see, the model thought the Boston Celtics were going to repeat at that plus 315. Obviously, went 0-1 on that pick. I think if they stayed healthy, they honestly could have made a deeper run all the way to the NBA Finals. Probably could have pulled out the victory over Oklahoma City. But I have to say that they had a little bit of a different approach this season. It was more of the three ball and they weren't even going to get by the Knicks. I know some Celtics fans, they'll make the excuse about Jason Tatum getting. You were losing to the Knicks before Tatum. Tatum got hurt with 2 minutes left, with like in a game that you were about to go down 3 games to 1. Let's not make the Jason Tatum excuse. That I'm not going to buy. And that's someone who was backing the Celtics. I personally bet on the Celtics. Anthony Grandstand Sports Data in the model picked the Celtics. So it's not like I'm trying to just crush them. But let's be honest here, people. They were going to lose with or without Jason Tatum to the New York Knicks. It was their way of play. It was their style of play that did them in more than it was the talent or the lack thereof because of injury. All right, so here's the full scoreboard here. Every preseason ticket tracked and accounted for. 43 and 26 is what the model basically did, just up over $1.23 for every $1 bet. So not terrible, but not exactly retirement money either. And this is a perfect example of a lesson bettors constantly overlook. More volume doesn't mean more profit. We hit nearly 62% of these plays, which is solid, but look at the breakdown. Win totals made us money. Division winners paid off thanks to a couple of plus money hits. But after that, you're taking playoff bets, conference winners, the finals future. Those chipped away at the total. And it shows how critical it is to find, that value, shop your odds, be selective, not necessarily emotional, because blindly firing 70 bets off of a model, that's how you grind your bankroll sideways. And here's the real kicker. Building a model doesn't automatically make you profitable, as you can see. It's not a shortcut, it's just one piece of the puzzle. A sharp model gives you direction, but if you ignore context like coaching changes, player motivation, load management, scheduling edges, all that shit, you're setting yourself up for seasons like this. The truth, if you're not layering fundamental factors on top of your data, you're missing the hidden edges. And that's where the market leaves the door open. So, in just a few minutes, we're going to show you exactly which fundamental angles helped this season, which ones flopped, and how combining them with the model is how you start stacking long term profitability. So, let's move on to the next slide. So here comes a very quick look at the most profitable and painful teams for the moneyline bettors this season. Remember, this is the money line. You got your top 5 NBA teams for that. You got the Trailblazers somehow leading the way at plus 20 units. Wild considering their preseason outlook. We thought they were going to be absolute trash. After that, you get the Bulls, Lakers, Nets, and Pacers, all profitable portfolios if you stuck with them. The bottom five now. Pelicans, brutal, down over 33 units. Then you get the Jazz, Hornets, Suns, Sixers, all torch bankrolls for anyone betting them consistently. Moral of the story here is that results matter, but market pricing creates real edges or even real traps, and tracking them helps spot both. So for the spread betters, here's who made money in your wallet and who made made basically made you question life choices at this point. The top five in terms of against the spread, no surprise here. You got the OKC Thunder, they crushed it at nearly plus $29 for every $1 bet. That's craziness. Raptors, Cavs, Blazers, and Clippers, they round out the profitable group. Steady covers all season long. Then you're gonna look at the bottom five here. You got the Suns, who were brutal. They were down basically $30 for every $1 bet. You got the Sixers, Pelicans, Mavs, and Pacers. You know, spread bettors lost big back in those teams consistently. This is exactly why knowing the market tendencies by team can save or even sink your bankroll. So up next, let's dive into those fundamental handicapping factors that we were talking about. All right, here's where we separate what's working and what's dead weight. And when it comes to handicapping factors, we're going to start with the money lines. We're going to start with fade home favorites on a back to back. And as you can see here, it was a great factor, right? It basically crushed it. It was up $28 for every $1 bet. It was a high rate of return, as you can see. And check this, the Z score, even though we have it behind the scenes, we don't have it necessarily up here. The Z score and win percentage was 3.10. A good Z score is usually in the 1.5 to the 2 range. It was a 3.10. The Z score in units was a 1.42. So it's basically telling you that this isn't luck. Okay, it's actually a legitimate statistical edge that we should be keeping in our model, and we should be looking at it going forward. Next would be rest differential. That's another one. So rest differential, you're going to see big sample size here, right? We followed it. It was profitable. And then with the Z-score of 1.74 for its win rate, it means it's real, but it has a little bit of a smaller edge than that fade home favorites on a back-to-back. Next would be blowout dogs, and this one's a little bit tricky. Their win percentage Z-score was a 2.73, so it shows an angle of sharp. It could tell the future basically, but the actual profits were negative. The translation here is that the big dogs are tough, but this factor has raw predictive power. Maybe just poorly priced by the books. And what this means is that maybe this is still a good factor. You just have to find the odds that coincide with it and find your edge like that. So you have to really do a little bit more filtering is the translation that I'm trying to say. And we'll get to that moving forward. Next will be like net rating, NBA 2K team rating, Grandstand Sports Data model, contrarian road dogs. These all flatlined or lost units, especially on the money line, with negative Z scores to back it up. The market's either caught on these or the angles just need some tweaking, right? On the spread side, right? So on the right side, and you're gonna see fade home favorites on a back to back, and you're gonna see this again, right? So it's solid rate of return, positive Z scores for both the win percentage and the profit. It's a real signal for this factor, not just noise. Next one would be fading favorites that are -1.5. This also stayed profitable against the spread with positive Z scores, very small positive Z scores, but still there and still steady and still show a little bit of moving forward that you can make this bet on this certain factor. Now, things like pace, net rating, 2K rating, our Grandstand Sports Data model, these in terms of the spread all bled units against the spread. The Z scores confirm it as well, so these angles underperformed expectations badly. Finally, you're going to look at something like contrarian road dogs. Again, small negative Z scores, not a disaster, but no edge. The bottom line here, though, is this is why we track everything. Some factors like rest, fading those back to backs, or even situational angles still print profit. Others, the market's sharp. Models alone aren't going to cut it, or the edge will just shrink. So next up, we're going to show you how stacking these factors together save the season, and which combos will ride going forward and which ones will throw away. All right, so here we're taking a look at the money line combinations for all of those factors. And this is what we did. We took basically the best performing ones and we ranked them by their Z score. I know we're not showing their Z score right here. If you want us to do that in future videos, please let us know in the comment section down below. But we ranked them via Z score. That's basically a number that tells us whether how, this is how I'll say it in layman's terms. It's a number that shows us that our factor is actually looking through the windshield rather than the rear view mirror when it comes to our data. So it's showing us what can happen in the future rather than recapping what already happened. All right. So we're going to start with the first one, which is pace plus the fade home favorites on a back to back. That was the best one in terms of the Z score. It was a 49% win rate, so it doesn't sound elite, but we're cashing over 30 units with a massive 55% return on investment. The Z scores were 3.74 for the win rate and 2.01 for profit. That's real signal right there. The market's missing these spots and it's translating to your bottom line. Take a look at this on money lines in the NBA. Pace plus fade home favorites on a back to back. The next one's going to be pace plus rest plus fade home favorites on the back to back. So all we're doing is adding in that rest. You can see its results from here. So a little bit of a smaller sample, but again, positive across the board. We're going to take a look at pace now. Pace plus blowout dogs. Huge sample here. 26 units in profit, up 11.6 in terms of your return on investment, and a monster 3.92 Z score on the win rate. Even with only a 33.6% win rate, you're targeting big plus money underdogs and seeing steady returns from this system. The next system is going to be the pace plus rest. This one's a little bit cleaner when it comes to the angles, or a little bit of a cleaner angle. It's 55% win rate. It's up 7.56 and $7.56 for every $1 bet. Positive Z scores across the board, and it's consistency over flash. So it's really consistent. It's not too sexy. Next is going to be the fade and home favorites off a back to back combined with our Grandstand Sports Data model. Another edge that's stacking setup, right? It's the model by itself struggled, but filtered with this, you set to pull in $16.81 for every $1 bet, nearly a 45% rate of return. And the Z scores are showing no fluke as well. Last, you're going to take a look at the rest plus fade home favorites off of back to back. It's a very similar story, nearly $8.22 for every $1 bet. Steady edge, clean Z scores at about 2.11 and 0.66 for those respective Z scores. So this is showing this combo is reliable, maybe even going long term. The takeaway here, though, blindly betting one factor is just not enough. But layered factors, especially around scheduling edges and underdog spots, that's going to be your blueprint, for being profitable. All right, let's pivot to the spread bets now. So this is almost, you can look at this across the board. You don't even really have to look for value as long as you have that minus 110, right? So we're going to start with the rest advantage plus that fade home favorites on a back-to-back. It's a solid 62.2 win rate. And remember, you only need to win at 52.4% to be profitable on the spreads, right? That minus 110 equates to 52.4. Well, this is hitting at 62.2. All of these listed are over 52.4 if you're not taking a closer look. But going back to number one, it almost got you $14 for every $1 bet, and it was up 18.7% in terms of your rate of return. The Z scores was up 1.68 for the win rate, and it was up 1.74 for the profit, meaning there's a measurable, consistent edge here. Now, net rating plus fade favorites of about minus 1.5. This is arguably the cleanest system on the board, right? A 70% win rate. It's up $13.50 for every $1 bet. It's up 33.7% in terms of your return on investment. The Z scores are coming in at about 2.23 and 2.44. So this isn't just noise. This is an actual system that you should be riding. Next one is going to be pace plus rest plus fade home favorites off of a back-to-back. Strong results with 65% win rate, nearly 10 units profit, and a hefty 24% rate of return. The Z scores are at about 1.6 and 1.68, proving this combo, it holds a little bit of water. Now, your pace plus fade home favorites off of a back-to-back. You've seen this angle work on money lines, and it's now translating to the spreads, nearly up $10. It's 61.8 in terms of your win rate, and Z scores both over 1.4. So it's telling you, play me. Rest plus contrarian road dog is a little more subtle but profitable. So $6.66 for every $1 bet, up 15.5% rate of return on your investment. Z scores still pushing a little bit positive, so 1.06 and 1.09. So one of the weaker ones when you compare them to the rest. Now, I'm going to look at the big stack now, all the way down at the bottom. A four combo here. It's the net rating, the team with the better net rating, who also has the more rest, who's also the better team on paper or player quality via NBA 2K team rating, and then is picked by our model here at Grandstand Sports Data on the spread. Remember, on the spread, not just on the money line. So even after piling on those four factors, this one turns a profit, right? Up $6.48 for every $1 bet, up 13.8 in terms of your portfolio, and Z scores flirting with 1. So definitely a system to monitor. It's not the most profitable. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not the most profitable, but according to its Z scores, it's not necessarily telling the future how it should. it's something that we should keep and monitor though. Something with four factors. If it actually pans out to be something, it's good for like those 4%, 5% plays, right? And that's what we're looking for. The bottom line here though, the more disciplined you are combining the right scheduling, matchup, and market factors, the more your bankroll is going to thank you, right? The wrong factors, they're going to drag down your ROI. But sharp combinations with positive Z scores, that's going to be your ticket to consistency. So, if you want us to explore new combos next season, I need you guys to drop your factors down in the comments down below, and we'll break them down for you next season. Also, next season, we aim to shorten the factors and maybe add some more broader categories for our NBA analysis. So, make sure to subscribe so you can be the first one to check those out. So that wraps up our 2024-2025 NBA model breakdown. Remember, building an edge takes much more than just one model. Stacking smart factors, tracking results, and constantly evolving is this game. If you found this helpful, though, I need you guys to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss next season's projections, breakdowns, and betting angles. Drop a comment below. Let us know what factor combos you want tested next year or even next season, or what angles you've been tracking, and share this with anyone trying to sharpen their NBA betting process. And like always, we'll see you in the next one.